Scrooge, time is short.
And suddenly you're not there anymore. On this week's episode of
Remakes, what were they thinking?
We finish off our Christmas in July theme with my personal favorite, Scrooge.
Which is based on the story A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, which was written in the 1840s. A story about poverty in society.
Well, he needed the money. So, what's our plot, Anne? Ow!
The story centers around a miserly character by the name of Ebenezer Scrooge.
He's amazing.
He's visited by the spirit of Jacob Marley, his former business partner.
So a ghost.
Who lets him know that he will be visited by 3 additional spirits this evening.
3 ghosts.
And through those visits, he will visit different time frames in his life. And towards the end, he goes through an amazing transformation as a person. Basically.
I think it's amazing. So, after much deliberation and realizing that there are a ton of different versions, interpretations,
cartoons,
whatever, of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, we decided to go with the 2 that we most enjoy. So, we have the 1970 Scrooge, and of course she has to bring out her record for this one, and we followed it up with the 1988 Scrooged.
I'll have you know, this is a collector's item.
Okay.
Scrooge was never released on CD.
But you can listen to it on YouTube, so.
Not the same.
All right. So, hopefully, everyone has seen at least one version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, even if it's that really, really bad Mickey's Christmas Carol. So, we're not going to bore you with, like, what this version is and what that version is and whatever. So we're going to dive right in and talk about some pivotal scenes with our main characters.
So let's start with Scrooge.
Absolutely. So in the 1970 version of Scrooge, we have Albert Finney, who plays our Ebenezer Scrooge. Guy is obsessed with his money, okay? So literally, he carries it around with him wherever he goes. When he goes to sleep, he puts it in a little coin purse and puts it around his neck. He also, in this particular version, locks everything up that's important that deals with money. And at night, you'd think he'd sleep with the keys, but no, he puts them in his chamber bed.
Ew.
Anyway.
So in the 1988 version of Scrooge, you have Bill Murray playing the lead character.
But his name isn't Scrooge.
It's Frank Cross. He is a business person. He is the main executive of IBC TV, and they're about to put on a live production on Christmas Eve, and it is coincidentally A Christmas Carol.
Ooh.
But he's a nasty man. He fires one of his associates on the first night. You see him getting a humanitarian award, and he didn't deserve it. Clearly, he left it behind in the taxi. But he's mean to everyone that he's around.
Also drinks Stoli and Tab. Why?
We need to talk about the ghost that visited Ebenezer Scrooge and Frank Cross.
And they were.
It was Jacob Marley and Lou Hayward warned him of the spirits that would be visiting him. Let's talk about the different time frames in Scrooge's and Frank Cross's life. The past, the present, and the future.
Let's start with the one we all like to choke down the most, the past.
Okay.
Starting with the 1970 version, here is our ghost of Christmas past.
Played by Dame Edith Evans.
So, she takes Scrooge to his childhood, where we see him in school, and he is not able to go back home for the holidays because Father's not well this year, or Father's not himself. And then we finally see him trot along off with his sister, because Father's doing much better.
Much better now.
Look, maybe, who knows. So then we see him a few years later, where he is working his first job at Fezziwigs. Yeah, it's like a factory place. I don't really know. There's like a party and everything.
Great party.
It's an awesome party.
Who does he meet?
He meets Isabel, his true love. And she and him are basically engaged, and we see their love affair like kind of unravel and everything, and it's lovely.
Because he's more interested in money.
She goes, "Don't ever, I'm leaving you for good, blah, blah, blah." So then she disappears.
So in comparison
To the 1988 Scrooged.
you see David Johansen plays the ghost of Christmas Past.
And what fun fact did you find out about him?
Fun fact, he is the singer for a punk band called the New York Dolls.
And one of the first musicians to actually start the whole glam rock thing.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, he takes him back to his past via a cab. How cool is that? So we go
Awesome.
back to Frank's home. You see him Christmas Eve. No Christmas tree, no Christmas lights. He's watching TV. Basically, the TV's the thing. His father comes home, throws some meat at him as, "Merry Christmas, kid."
5 pounds of veal. Now that's awesome.
His father's a butcher. Then you see him a little bit older, and he has a job at a TV station, and he is in a dog costume, and he is the dog for a kid's TV show.
Like a Barney type of thing.
So he's up and coming, and the head exec notices that. But he meets at the office party, after the office party rather, which he doesn't get involved in.
No.
He meets...
Has an awesome mullet though.
He does have a mullet. I didn't get a picture of that. He meets Claire. Claire's going to change the world. She works and volunteers with volunteers, and they're taking care of the homeless. And they end up in a relationship, and that does start to sour because he gets interested in doing bigger and better things, and Claire wants to save the world.
So let's move on to The Ghost of Christmas Present, starting with 1970 Scrooge.
Played by Kenneth More. Scrooge meets him in his room, in a lit-up room with food and lights and drink, and the ghost of Christmas Present gives him the milk of human kindness to drink.
It's wine.
And Scrooge has really never celebrated Christmas. He has no idea, and he's starting to feel something. So he visits the Cratchit home, and he sees their meager Christmas. And then he visits his nephew's home, and they're playing games, and they're having a grand old time.
The minister's cat is a musical cat.
The minister's cat is a mothy cat. Meow, meow.
And he's like laughing. And
He's joining in, he's having a great time. That's my favorite part, is where he's joining in and he's saying, "You answered that wrong!" And the ghost says, "They can't hear you."
So let's move on to The Ghost of Christmas Present in Scrooged. So, this time around, we actually have a female for The Ghost of Christmas Present, played by Carol Kane, and she is a delight. She's volatile, she's in Frank's face, beats the shit out of him. Love her. So, she takes good old Frank to his secretary's apartment, Grace. Grace has 5 kids and lives with her mom, and it's a very small space. And her youngest is not Tiny Tim, but Calvin. Now, Calvin is mute because he witnessed the murder of his father. So he doesn't speak. He goes to a lot of doctors, and they're just trying to get him back to his cute little self. He's got the cutest little face anyway. So then she flies around, woo, and takes Frank to his younger brother's Christmas party. Now, he's kind of like in this, we'll say, renovated brownstone. Maybe it's in Brooklyn. I don't know. It's the 1980s. So, like the house that in Home Alone 2 that Kevin goes up and, you know, that thing. So, he's with his friends and his wife, and they're drinking and sitting by a fire, and despite the fact that Frank gives him like a lousy like company towel, he still gives a toast in honor of Frank because he looks up and admires his brother. So then she flies him back and disappears.
It's time to talk about the future.
The thing we millennials never want to talk about.
But let's talk about Scrooge's future.
All right. So the ghost of Christmas future comes along, and he's all scary and everything.
Faceless creature.
And where do we see him first?
We see him outside of Scrooge's business.
with a crowd of people, and they're saying, "And for this and cheers," and they're all cheering.
They're all happy.
And
he's like,
he's like, "Oh, why, thank you. Oh, why, thank you so much. Thank
they're
you."
thanking him, and he has no idea why.
They open the door to his establishment.
Unbeknownst to Scrooge,
He's like confused.
they're carrying out his coffin.
And then they start singing,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That's the nicest thing that everyone's ever done for me. And they're dancing on his
And he's like,
coffin.
oh no, it is I who should
Dancing
thank
with
you.
them. And he has no idea.
They're thanking him for dying.
Has no
They're
idea.
ripping up the book that shows the record of the money they owe him.
Greatest
It's the best scene ever.
And so then we take him to what? The Cratchit's
Cratchit
house,
home,
and we
yes.
see that Tiny Tim
You
is.
see, Tiny Tim has passed.
We know the story. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. So, should we talk about the 1988 version?
Yes.
Okay.
The ghost. This ghost is pretty cool because you don't see it now, but his face is a TV screen.
Because Frank works in television.
Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And also, in the story of A Christmas Carol, it's not in a lot of the versions, but this ghost parts his robes and you see figures of poverty and ignorance. And instead they have these ghoulish creatures. So I'm like, yes, he went there. They included Charles Dickens reference. So anyway,
So in this version, we actually see Calvin has been placed in a mental institution.
So
and that's
sad.
very sad.
It's so
And then
sad.
we see his beloved Claire, who no longer wants to like help the needy. She is like well off
she's a fashion girl.
literally like hates the poor.
Doesn't care.
And then we see his brother and his brother's wife, and they're like at a funeral, and it's Frank's, and they're burning his casket, and
he's trying to
like
pull-
pull it out, and
He's like trying to pull the casket out.
dude, no.
While it's going into the incinerator. It's like classic. Time for Scrooge's redemption and Frank Cross.
All right.
Starting with Scrooge. He's going to change his way. He's decided to live each day and hold Christmas dear in his heart and help others. So, Cratchit's,
He like throws up all the contracts he has, starts ripping up the books and everything, and like he, oh my gosh, I love when he goes to the toy store and he's like, and what are those, and that dolly, and that
He's
dolly,
buying
and
things
this thing,
for the Cratchit
and this,
family.
and
Yes.
that,
And then he's with those.
and this, and that,
and some wine.
and the merry-go-round.
So, of course, he visits the Cratchit house, and they're all surprised to see him. And he promises to help them out financially. And then he goes to his nephew's house and joys in the merriment. And, of course, his nephew says, oh, it's uncle's so great to see you. So,
So then in Scrooged, Frank actually stops the live production of A Christmas Carol, and he basically apologizes on camera and says
Because-
he'll do better. I mean, this was actually the one part of the movie I was like, okay, let's wrap it up.
it went on too long. It went on too long.
But it's nice to see like Bill Murray have a little rant now and again. I mean,
And they said it was ad-libbed.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why, you know, it did go on
maybe
for
that's
so long.
why. Yeah, I mean, he got very passionate. He started crying.
Yeah.
So
And so he promised to do better. He was going to help everyone. And the child spoke at the end, said,
he
"God bless
like spoke for the
everyone."
first time. God, you forgot God bless us everyone because he's
Touching.
obsessed.
It was touching,
It was-
okay?
it was-
We
yeah.
love that.
Yes.
But then they're singing, put a little love in your heart. And they're going on and on and on. And
You know
inviting
what?
the people in TV land to sing with them too.
Look, 80s movies, like, sometimes their endings just don't work, okay? I get it, okay.
Yeah, but that was it.
Nonetheless,
That was
yeah,
it.
Yeah. Nonetheless, both our protagonists are able to be wonderful men.
So we want to expand on a couple of important differences quickly about Scrooged.
Right. So, first things first, I want to point out the fact that Scrooged is not a remake, but a modernization of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. So, this is a film by Richard Donner, who, well done, okay? So, if you don't know who he actually is the mastermind behind The Goonies, which is another 80s classic. So, if you like The Goonies, you should watch Scrooge. This is the first time I actually saw Scrooge, and huzzah, loved it. So, you wanted to talk about...
The character of Claire is the opposite of Isabel,
Yep.
the love interest. In this version, Claire is throughout the story, and he actually gets back with Claire, and they renew their love. Huge difference from the original story.
I mean, it makes sense. Because,
Yeah, it does. It's kind of a nice thing.
It's
It is
a nice,
kind of a
yeah,
nice
it's
thing.
a nice happy ending.
And also,
Bill Murray's brothers, John,
Joel.
Joel, and Brian Doyle have roles in this movie.
John plays his brother James. Joel has a cameo as a party guest. And Brian Doyle plays his father when he goes back in time.
Isn't that neat when you keep it in the family?
I love
mean,
movies
you know?
like that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I loved was at the end, you see the ghosts. And they're all
wishing
like,
him well.
they're like waving. It's like, good job, we were there to help.
That's
It's
just cool.
kind of cute.
That's
It's kind of
just cool.
cute.
Yeah.
It is a dark comedy, so it's not for everyone, but we think it's a very good modern retelling.
Honestly, like, I'm going to shock all of you right now. I love both of these movies.
She did. I did as well.
My tradition ever since I saw Scrooge, the 1970 version, is every year I try to watch it, and we didn't actually watch it this
No, we didn't
Christmas.
get to it this Christmas time. We
Thank
ran out of
God
time.
we're in a pandemic where we get to watch it in July. And then Scrooged was actually recommended to me by my friend Jerome. And I was like, I've never seen this.
So Jerome,
Thank
if
you.
you watch this at all,
Thank you so much for the recommendation.
first of all, hi.
my love to you, Patricia and the boys.
So it was a fun kind of
I'm
remake to
looking
do.
forward to watching these movies again in
At
our
Christmas time.
Right, because there's always a few Christmas movies we watch together.
Yes. Hey, do you know what time it is?
Cookie time!
Yeah, well, that too.
Oh.
But it's time for our Christmas paper wrap-up.
Awesome.
We're done with our tribute of Christmas in July.
I really enjoyed watching Christmas movies during a pandemic.
It was fun, wasn't
It
it?
really was. I mean, Miracle on 34th Street I could have done without, but
Right.
nonetheless.
But this week's was good, right?
I love Scrooge. I loved Scrooged.
I love stories of redemption. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
and coming up, we've got a new idea of movies that we want to see.
Family films.
Right.
Which means now I have to actually use my Disney Plus membership.
You like animals?
I love animals.
We're going to start with The Incredible Journey
Okay.
and follow it with Homeward Bound.
Michael J. Fox, yes!
So, until then,
As always.
stay well,
We love you.
keep in touch.
Always. Follow us on Facebook. Drop us a line. Mask up, sanitize. We're still doing well New York.
Yes, and then have fun with your pandemic projects.
Always.
I love what you're all doing.
Oh, yes.
We'll see you soon. We
We
love
love
you.
you.
Bye.